The next topic in this series is one that is tricky to really have a strong opinion on due to me not having played the game, although I have seen some things I can comment on. First, the controls. They're basically the same from the last game, which is a problem. The default controls on Xenoverse 1 were bad. The way they were mapped out was so weird, and flying straight up and down was just awkward. I expect I will be able to switch over to the Raging Blast 2 control style like in the last game, but it still confuses me why they use these controls. Like, why is lock on R1 instead of R3? So, as for the fighting itself, it's looking more like Raging Blast 2, honestly. The pursuit attacks and the general look at the fights looks similar, although I do like how they made the pursuits more dynamic rather than just straight line attacks. How comboing works, and if there are other options than spamming one infinite combo over and over, we'll need to wait until I can play the game. That's the problem with this stuff. It takes a lot of playing to start to figure out how the system works and what it can do. People playing demos at cons and such aren't comparable to sitting down and putting a few hours and trying out all sorts of things. You barely have enough time to get used to the controls at a convention, much less try to test out the system in a meaningful way. Still, I really do hate that key charging is still a super. So stupid! So for those that watched the previous video, you're probably wondering what I saw that I was happy to see. Well, that was what looked like a co-op attack. While playing online, comboing the same target with melee was terrible. It was actually harder to do that than just doing it by yourself. You'd pretty much get in each other's way. Even throwing key attacks while someone is comboing would just knock them away most of the time. You get around this if you know the people you were playing with and coordinated when to tag in and out of combo attacks to keep them locked down. This is what I'm so happy to see co-op attacks. No more worrying about how to combo with another player and just making the combo stronger, like it should have been. Even Battle of Z had this. Now I feel dirty for praising Battle of Z. Anyway, the section was really short as to how this would work, or even if it was a co-op attack. But there is one of those things to keep an eye on for sure. Anything to enhance the co-op aspect of this game is much needed and required if the game series is going to keep the online aspect. We need reasons to play with other people, to make it feel like playing with other people matters, or you might as well just make it single player. Thankfully, they do seem to be trying to fix these things. But gameplay is more than just fighting. There are the rewards for once you beat your opponents, of course. Before, you got everything based on RNG. Now, RNG isn't bad per se, but it really isn't needed in this game at all. What does RNG give you in a game? A feeling of excitement at getting something good, as well as stretching out the time you need to play the game to get what you want. It's something that comes into play a lot in MMOs, but look at how MMOs work compared to how this game works. When going through a dungeon, there are treasure chests you will get. The question isn't, will you get something, but rather, will you get what I want from my character? While in Xenoverse 1, it was, will I get anything, and if so, is it what I want? As you can see, there's an extra layer of RNG that makes the chance of getting something even lower. This gets even worse in Xenoverse 1, given that if you wanted something from an ultimate finish, you would have like 3 layers of RNG to go through in order to get what you wanted. Make it trying to get a full set of equipment, and you have 4 layers of RNG. I doubt I need to go through why this got frustrating in the first game, but this is one of the biggest things to fix between both games, and I will certainly be keeping track of how drops work when the game comes out. What I would like to see is them bringing set conditions on getting something, or a guaranteed drop that has RNG in terms of what I get. I honestly don't mind RNG on which piece of a set you get, as long as each piece has the same chance to drop. I don't mind replaying missions in order to collect everything from it, but it needs to be more than just a simple, mindless, repetitive grind. Give me something in missions to do that will give me a drop. There are already so many missions in the game, there's no reason to need to do each one like 20 times. They should allow you to get all the stuff you want, and then let you play around with all your characters and everything. That's the point of this type of game, isn't it? While they haven't shown how equipment works in its entirety, it looks like equipment will still have stats on it. This is a huge disappointment. They should have switched the stats away from the equipment and put them on the stats you get from leveling. Leveling felt so unrewarding in the first game as the power gains was so slow it took playing as a weaker character or going back to an earlier stage to really feel like you got any stronger. Play Budokai 3, then play Xenoverse 1, and you'll get an idea of how leveling can make you feel like you got stronger with each level, rather than having each level feel like it didn't matter all that much. This is a big part of feeling like your character is getting stronger, and it really sucks that it doesn't seem to matter. Also, it was super weird how the normal characters leveled up with you. I can get that they don't want you to play as something really overpowered instead of letting you level up your own character, but it would be nice if you were given the option to customize the normal characters and level them up too. Do we really need to have that many different Goku setups? Why can't it be like Raging Blast and we just let us make our own? Thankfully, Masters are going to be handled much better. They're going to be more or less the same, but the game will tell you how to raise their affection now. Also, they'll give you some side quests to do as well. So thankfully, this is a much welcome change will allow players to get the moves from their masters without feeling like it just randomly gives you affection. Not to mention, you'll have some side quests to make each master feel a little different depending on what they are. Which brings us to the last topic, the city. They're going to open up the city and allow us to fly around in it without loading screens, as well as adding in a ton of new areas. Now this is good, unless the city is empty. If there's no real reason to have all these new areas, then it would basically be pointless. When you expand something and make it bigger, you need to give players the reasons to go out and explore the now larger space. If the city is basically the same functions as the previous game without nothing new, then the new area will be a waste and it should have been smaller. From what they have shown, this doesn't seem to be the case, but something to look at once we have the release later this month. So it looks like the gameplay has been improved, and many of the issues from the last game were at least touched upon. We will see if this will be enough soon, but I would say there's reason to be excited.